Tractate Bava Batra, page 82. We are 5 lines from the top of the page. We discussed the subject of someone who's purchasing 3 trees, and we explained yesterday that we differentiate between 2 trees and 3. The moment one purchased 3 trees, he also purchased the estate involved with the trees, and it's considering, as we explained, Sdei Ilan, which means that is a total purchase of the property in a way independently, and we assume that when a fellow purchased 3 trees, he purchased the land as well. The question is, what exactly the distance involved between the trees, meaning how do you measure the size? We're going to learn the disputation, if it's a 4, if it's 8, if it's 16, how exactly you measure. So we'll start with the point of departure, which is the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, Higdilu lo yeshapeh. So they said that if one who buys, first we start with the original statement, which is the 2 trees. And trees, if the tree grew, the owner of the field may not cut down the branches. So the idea is that they said that it all depends upon how far you go. If you go mehageza, from its roots that belongs to the owner of the ground, versus from the roots to the branches, that's basically part of the one who owns the tree. So they said, what exactly you say that you're dealing with the trunk, and what are the situation that you are saying that it's considering growing from out of the roots? Amar Rabbi Yochanan, כל שרואה פני חמה זהו מן הגזע, ושאינו רואה פני חמה זהו מן השורשים. He said, as long as it's saw the face of the sun, which is the idea that it's visible, you can see it, then you talk as a out of the trunk, versus you don't see the face of the sun, so you call it out of the earth, of the roots. So they said, "Veleichush dilma maska al asirton." So maybe you should be concerned that the land is covered with sediment from the flowing water. So a situation like that, you have the attachment between the tree and the trunk, and that's the reason why it's a distance. You see, it's in the old trees. So here, as we said, and we're going to hear more about it, the moment he changed the status and he said, you actually sold me 3 trees, and therefore I have the ownership of the ground. That's the springboard, the foundation we try to say, when exactly you differentiate between buying just the trees or buying the trees with the land, and soon you see, we come to conclusion that the moment there are 3, it's already part of the land as well. אלא אמר רב נחמן יקוץ וכן אמר רבי יוחנן יקוץ. Basically, he said that the owner of the tree needs to cut it down, whatever come out of the geza, of the root. אמר רב נחמן נקטינן דקל אין לו גeza. We hold that the palm tree has no trunk. סבר רב זביד למימר אין לו גeza לבעל דקל, דכיוון דלמחפר ולשרש כלמי אסוכי מסך דעתי. Because he doesn't have, the owner of the palm tree he stand ready to be dug up and uproots, so he diverts his mind from that which grows from the trunk. The Tosfot and Ramban disputed the Rashbam explanations, what exactly the right when the first one is dried out, what exactly the rights for the owner to replace it. But anyway, matkif la Rav Papa, והקונה שני אילנות למחפר ולמשרש קיימי. So he said that one who buys 2 trees and as the tree stands ready to be dug up and uprooted, because the owner has no right to plant new trees in the place when they die. וקטנה יש לו גזע. And we learn there's the right that which grows from the trunk. אלא אמר רב פאפא, אין לו גזע לבעל דקל, לפי שאין מוציא גזע. The owner of the palm tree has no trunk because the palm tree does not produce branches from its trunk. So you see here, we differentiate between the root and the trunk, but Rav Zvid kasha matnitin. So if you follow Rav Zvid, that he said that you treated the palm tree the same as the tree that brings gidulim, as a growth from the side of his trunk, kashya matnitin. So you have an issue with the Mishnah, because obviously you go by the Mishnah, you said that most of those trees brings gidulim mitzidei gizam, they're bringing a growth from the side of their trunk. So it means, according to Rav Zvid, even palm tree that follow by the way of the Mishnah, that they said olem min geza, that come out of the trunk, is also belongs to the owner of the tree. And that's basically contradicted to what Rav Nachman said, that whatever come out of the palm trees, the trunk, is not part of the ownership of that palm tree. So the Gemara said, the zavin lechamesh shanim, you have to say that the deal here, that he get it in a specific time, he brought the trees for 5 years contract, and it was a precondition that they may plant new trees in place of the original trees if it's a situation that the original one will cut down. So therefore you treated it in that way, versus the ruling of Rav Nachman dealing with just a general situation that someone gets a palm tree without the ground, without the time restraint. So even the palm tree dry out after a certain short time, he needs to uproot it and move out. Anyway, kana shlosha kana karka, as we said many times as the framework of the further discussion. They said that one who bought 3 trees, he basically get the ground which those trees are standing. Vechama, so they said, and how much of the field he basically purchased. Amar Rabbi Chia bar Rabba, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, הרי זה קנה תחתיהן ובניהן וחוצה להן. He gets underneath, he gets between them, and he gets outside of the trees and their branches. 82b, kim lo ore vesalo. Kim lo ore vesalo. So you see in some of you Gemarot, you see some type of description, but basically you have the igulavan, the round cycle, which is that's underneath. You said the other area in between, which is the gray area, that in between. And if you see in your Gemarot in Shaddestin, you see the keshet shchora, that's rainbow, black rainbow around, that's outside of that domain. So that's basically the sufficient of gather the figs and his baskets in hand to stand close to the tree. מתקיף לרבי אלעזר, השתא דרך אין לו אורה וסלו יש לו? You mean to say you have no path, so you need to purchase path. So how does he have a possession of an area for the gatherer and his basket? דרך אין לו דרעה חריתי. He doesn't have a path because the tree is considered another land and is not part of the rest of the field. אורה וסלו יש לו? So you have you have a possession of the area for a gatherer and his basket. אמר רבי זרע מדברי רבנו ילמד שלושה, הוא דאין לו דרך השניים יש לו. As we said, we differentiate between 3 and 2. If there are 3, so obviously you take it with the ground, versus 2, it has no path. So is the buyer required to separate piece of land along the trees. That's the 3, but the 2 he needs to do only the buyer has a path. Because he said, I'm standing on your land. Because as I'm allowed to use your field to tend to my trees, and I have the right to walk through your land to reach them. So basically that's the whole concept of Rabbi Akiva, as we said many times. Soon you see how we get to there. That's what we said all the time. The seller sold in a generous manner, so that included the path to get there. So therefore, we presume that he's included the sell even item that was not explicitly specified. So we said, אמר לו, מתוק ממתין כרבי עקיבא. ממאי מדיקתן הגדילו ישפה. ויסגדת רבי עקיבא, היא אמר ישפה. Why you need to cut them down? האמר מוכר בעין יפה מוכר, הוא said, sell it in a generous way. אמר לי, אמודה, אמר רבי עקיבא, גבי בור ודות לו למקחה שערה. Rabbi Akiva meant to say, we talk about pit and cistern, that's basically not weaken the land. Ba'ilan mishamatle, when it's come to a tree, so which is the weaken the land, mi lo mode Rabbi Akiva ba'ilan utelet to chazera v'rosh kutzetz b'no mardei aman gaber machresha. If you talk about a tree that you basically lean out of the field of the other, so the owner of the other field, he cuts down the branches until the full heights of an ox load, they handle the produce over a plow. That's just an example that he extending the branches that impede his effort to plow the field. תנא כבתי דרבי חייא בר אבא, הרי זה קנה תחתיהם וביניהם וחוץ עליהם כמלוא עורב וסלו. So basically it's a choir underneath, between them and outside the trees, and the branches is area sufficient for a gather of figs in its basket. אמר לה באל רב יוסף, אותן עורב וסלו מזורען, those gather of figs in his basket, who saw them? אמר לי, תנטוע החיצון זורע את הדרך. He said, the owner of the outer garden may sow the path. אמר לי, מי דמי? הזמלית לבסדר ללוקח, אבל האחרית לבסדר ללוקח. Over there is no loss for the buyer, but here there is a loss for the buyer, as the one who brought the tree says to the owner of the field, אמר לך מטנפי פרד, that it caused my trees to become soiled by the plants. So the halodambias, the Gemara said you can't compare it, because they said lesefa v'zeh v'zeh narashaim lezor'ah. Said that both of them not permitted to sow the path. So here you have the same situation, that neither the owner of the trees nor the owner of the field are permitted to sow the place that designated for the gatherer of figs and gatherer of the baskets. What's exactly the space between them? Now you see the disputation. Rav Yosef, I'll read it first and then we'll explain it to you. Rav Yosef אמר רבי אמר שמואל מארבע עמוד ועד שמונה. רב אמר נחמן אמר שמואל משמונה ועד 16. אמר לה באל רב יוסף לא תבלוג עליהם דרב נחמן דתנן מתנין תגבתי דתנן הנוטה את קרמו 16 אמר 16 אמר מותר להביא זרע לשם. אומר רב יהודה מעשה וצלמון באחד שנטה את קרמו 16 על 16 אמר והיה הופך שאר שתי שורות לצד אחד וזורע את הניר. לשנה אחרת היה הופך את השר למקום הזרע וזרע את הבור ואמר סביבתי חכמים ותראו. אמר לענה לא ידענה אלא עובדה הווה, page 83, בדורא דעבתא, ועתו לקמא דרב יהודה ואמר לזיל הבלי כמו לבקר וחלב, ולא הווה ידענה כמלוא בקר וחלב כמה, כיוון דשמעת לה דתנן לא איתה אדם אילן סמוך לאן חברו להם כן הרחיק ממנו 400, ותן עלה 400 שאמרו כדי עבודת הכרם אמינה, שמאמינה כמלוא בקר וחלב 400 וחייב יוסף מילותנן. רמי ורבי שמעון אומרים, מנותה את כמו 8 מותר להביא זרע לשם, זה אפילו אחרי מעשה עדיף. So I would like to wrap it up in very short so make it simple and hopefully we understand it. We basically learn that if someone purchases 3 trees, he also purchases the land with the trees. So it's considering, as we said, Sdei Ilan, independent, and we assume that he bought the land together with that. The disputation is what is the minimum and maximum distance between the trees. According to Rav Yosef, the minimum it's not less than 4 cubits, because then it's tzafuf midai, it's not enough room, and not exceeded more than 8 cubits, because we assume that omed li'talesh, you're about to cut down, so therefore you don't buy the land together with that. Rav Nachman, in the name of Rav Shmuel, said the minimum is 8 cubits, the maximum is 16. And basically, therefore, ilanot mitztarfin, the trees can be combined. Just a word of the Rashbam. I know that people have to run, and just 2 words. Rashbam, Ilchot Shchenim, chapter 10. One may not plant a tree alongside trees belonging to another, or plant a grapevine near the grapevine of another, unless he places it at a distance of 4 cubits, as this is the space required for plowing between the plants. If it is not the custom in the place to plow between plants, it is not necessary to distance one plant. That's the Beit Yosef. If they both wish to plant at the same time, each one must distance his plant half of this distance. That's the Rema, citing the Magid Mishneh. This is necessary distance in Eretz Israel, but in Bavel, half this distance between each tree or each grapevine is sufficient, although 3 must be 4 cubits between a tree and a grapevine, and some say that 4 cubits are also necessary between 2 trees of the same time. That's the Rambam. The Rema, citing the Tur, say that even greater distance is required in this case. If there is a fence between the 2 fields, there is no need to preserve any distance. So that's basically the Choshen Mishpat 155.